Assalamu alaikum students. I am Saida, your subject teacher of biology, and today I will give you the third lecture of chapter number 10, which is about gaseous exchange. Mechanism of breathing. The physical movement associated with gaseous exchange is called breathing. And there are two phases of breathing: inspiration or inhalation, expiration or exhalation. So mechanism of breathing is actually the inhalation and exhalation of air, and you can see the difference between the two processes as has given in this diagram. Let's see all these differences in detail in the next. Let's see comparison between inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation is actually the taking in air. What happens in inhalation? Rib muscles contract, ribs are raised, dome-shaped diaphragm contracts and is lowered. So due to the activity of rib muscles, due to the contraction of rib muscles, ribs are raised, and due to the contraction of muscles of diaphragm, it becomes lower. So due to the activity of ribs and diaphragm, thoracic cavity would expand, and it reduces pressure on the lungs. So lungs would expand and air pressure inside the lungs would decrease, and air from outside the body would rush into the lung. So these are the things which happen in inhalation. Let's see the exhalation now. Exhalation is the release of air from the body. What happens in this? First thing is that rib muscles relax and ribs are lowered. Diaphragm relaxes and becomes dome shaped again. So due to these two activities, relaxation of the rib muscles and lowering of the ribs, and the second relaxation of the diaphragm, and it becomes dome shaped. Due to these two activities, the thoracic cavity contracts and it increases pressure on the lungs. So when lungs contract, the air pressure inside the lungs would increase, and what happens then? Air would be released out of the lung. It would rush outside the lung. So this is how exhalation would take place. Breathing rate in humans. Humans breathe 16 to 20 times per minute in normal circumstances. Normal circumstances means when we are at rest and not doing any hard job. Second is respiratory center in the brain controls breathing rate by its sensitivity for the concentration of carbon dioxide in blood. When we do some hard exercise or some hard work, our muscles respire more and produce more carbon dioxide in the blood. So when our concentration of carbon dioxide in our blood is increased, what happens? This increased carbon dioxide in our blood stimulates respiratory center of brain. Then brain sends messages to the rib muscles and diaphragm to increase the rate of breathing. So this is how carbon dioxide is removed out of the body. And this is the way our breathing rate is controlled by respiratory center which is present in our brain. During exercise or any hard physical activity, the breathing rate may exceed up to 30 to 40 times per minute. So this is all about breathing rate in humans. Next thing. This is respiratory disorders. Let's see the disorders now. First is bronchitis. Bronchitis is the inflammation of the bronchi or bronchioles, which result in excessive secretion of mucus into the tubes. What are the causes? Let's see. It is caused by viruses, bacteria, or irritants. For example, tobacco smoke. The most important irritant is tobacco, although some pollutants are there in the air which may become irritant. But tobacco smoke is the most dangerous one, which irritates our respiratory system and causes bronchitis. There are two types of bronchitis, acute and chronic. Acute is that which lasts for about 2 weeks and no permanent damage of lungs would occur. But what happens in chronic? It lasts for 3 months to 2 years and permanent damage to lungs would occur. What are the symptoms? Cough, mild wheezing, fever, chills, shortness of breath. The next disorder is emphysema. It is the destruction of walls of the alveoli resulting large sacs but less surface area for the exchange of gases. Oxygen level in blood decreases very low. Causes are extensive smoking or air pollutants. Symptoms: shortness of breath, fatigue, recurrent respiratory infections. Recurrent means which occur frequently or repeatedly. And weight loss. These are the symptoms, and whenever these symptoms appear, what happens to the patient? The patient may get lost 50 to 70% of his lung tissue. So emphysema is a very dangerous disorder in which alveoli or air sacs, they burst open and the space would be increased, but surface area for the exchange of gases would decrease, which results in low oxygen level in blood, and in this way the patient may suffer from emphysema. The next is pneumonia. It is an infection of the lung. If both lungs are affected, then it is called as double pneumonia. What are the causes? Bacterium, which is known as Streptococcus pneumoniae, virus, and fungus. Causative organisms enter alveoli or air sacs, which break lung tissue. The area is filled with fluid and pus. So, and the symptoms are cold, followed by high fever, shivering, cough with sputum production, shortness of breath, skin color becomes dusky or purplish. Dusky means bluish, and it becomes blue or purple due to the deficiency of oxygen. And what is the cure? Vaccination. Actually, vaccination is prevention from the disorder, pneumonia. And whenever we suffer from pneumonia, we have to use antibiotics. So this is all about pneumonia. Let's see the next one. Asthma. It is a form of allergy due to allergens. And what are the allergens? Allergens include dust and smoke particles, perfumes, and pollen grains. Allergens cause inflammation of the bronchi, more mucus production, and narrowing of airways. So allergens, they cause inflammation of the bronchi. If you recall, bronchi are the branches of trachea. Whenever trachea bifurcates, it gives two branches. Each branch is called as bronchus. And what are the causes? Allergens, which include dust and smoke particles, pollen grains, and perfumes. And what are the symptoms? Shortness of breath, wheezing, cough, and chest tightness. What is cure? Medicines having chemicals which dilate. Dilate means to expand or to increase in size, which dilate bronchi and bronchioles, usually used in the form of inhaler. So all medicines which have chemicals which result in the dilation of the bronchi and bronchioles are used, and they are mostly used in the form of inhalers. Let's see the next disorder. It's lung cancer. It's an uncontrolled division of cells and it results tumor formation. Tumor affects the surrounding cells. As you have studied in the previous class that whenever a cell divides into 2 or 4 cells, they grow. And they grow to attain a specific size, and we say that the cell has grown now, and then it would become ready for the next division. But whenever lung cancers appear, cells divide repeatedly. Before maturation, they divide and redivide repeatedly and fastly, and they would result in tumor formation. And whenever this tumor persists for a longer time, it start affecting the surrounding cells also. They would start dividing repeatedly, and the same symptoms or the same thing, cancer would appear in the surrounding cells also. So it would start spreading. What are the causes of lung cancer? The first is carcinogens, and you know that carcinogens are those substances which cause cancer. They induce a cell to divide and redivide repeatedly. And cigarette smoke is having about 50 chemicals which are known as carcinogens. So 50 carcinogens are there in the cigarette smoke. So cigarette smoke is very dangerous. Ionizing radiation is the second cause. Ionizing radiation include alpha and beta radiation, and they emit from radioactive elements and from other sources also. Viral infection and passive smoking. What is passive smoking? In passive smoking, a person does not smoke, but he lives in an environment in which tobacco smoke is there. A smoker uses a cigarette which is having a filter at its one end, and through this filter he inhales or he sucks tobacco smoke. Filter would prevent very dangerous chemicals to enter into the smoker's body. But a person who is living in that smoky environment, he would inhale all the chemicals which are coming from the burning end of the cigarette. So he would be at a higher risk of getting lung cancer. So it should be avoided. A smoker should not smoke, and another person who is living in or who is living near to the smoker should avoid it. So the cure: avoid smoking. The first thing, if we want to prevent us from lung cancer, we have to avoid or stop smoking. And the second, other sources of carcinogens. Carcinogens are there in the air, and there are many other sources of carcinogens. So we have to avoid all those carcinogens, right? Let's see the bad effects of smoking now. What happens to a smoker when he smokes a lot? Cigarette smoke contains more than 4,000 chemicals, out of which 50 are carcinogens. So 4,000 chemicals are present in the tobacco smoke, and 50 are carcinogens. Just imagine. Highest risk of cancer of lung, kidney, oral cavity, larynx, breast, bladder, and pancreas. A smoker would be at a higher risk of damaging not only his lungs but his kidneys, oral cavity, larynx, breast, bladder, and pancreas. Then he may suffer from emphysema or circulatory disorders. He would get less oxygen carrying capacity of hemoglobin. And more platelets make blood more viscous, which lead to the arteriosclerosis. Arteriosclerosis is the hardening of wall of arteries. And next is, a smoker has 4 times greater the risk of tuberculosis and pneumonia. And a smoker weakens his teeth, and they would become stained, and the teeth loss is 2 to 3 times higher than a non-smoker. So these are the bad effects of smoking. So the result is, what is the final result? What should we conclude? Conclusion is very simple. We should stop smoking. Tobacco smoking should be stopped. Next, home task. I have given you 4 short questions. First question is, compare inhalation and exhalation. Second is, what is bronchitis, emphysema, asthma, and pneumonia. Third is, describe the causes, symptoms, and cure of bronchitis, emphysema, asthma, and pneumonia. And fourth one is, outline the bad effects of smoking. You would answer all these questions. You would do this work in your neat copies and send me the images of these. Let's see the long questions now. First question is, how does gaseous exchange occur in plants? Describe in detail. And second is, describe the external and internal structure of human lungs. These 2 questions are based upon the first and second lecture. You can answer very easily after listening to the lectures and after reading these topics in your book. I hope you have understood chapter number 10, and you would be able to do all these questions. Just send me the images and I will return you after checking them. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.